So I bet you didn't expect this video after my last Patrick Ta video. But in news surprising no one, Patrick Ta did release 4 new shades of his double take cream and powder blushes. So I purchased 2 of them. So I already had 3, I believe. And I used the Not Too Much shade, I believe, in my last Patrick Ta video. So I am a fan of the product generally, but there were 2 things that really intrigued me about the new shades. So there were 2 more muted shades, and on the Sephora website, at least initially, they were described as both a cool mauve rose for She Goes to the Gym and a warm mauve rose for She's Seductive. So I thought it'd be fun just to kind of do a little bit of a comparison side by side, kind of in the name of color theory or color analysis. I know people have been kind of attacking that as a trend. I think it's kind of a useful tool and pretty harmless really, so I don't know what the big fuss is about. But anyway, I guess I do identify as a soft summer to the extent that's helpful to anyone. So like I said, we have the shade She's Seductive, which is the warm mauve rose, and She Goes to the Gym, which was described as a cool mauve rose. That is on the Sephora website. If you actually go to the infographic, She's Seductive is described as a warm rosy beige, which would appeal to me in any case, but we'll do the side-by-side comparison. And I thought that was a really helpful graphic because he kind of divides the shades into more of the cool tones, more of the warm tones, and then more of the muted natural tones, if you will. And I will compare these 2 new shades that I have to She's So LA and Not Too Much. And I also have, I think She's That Girl is the other shade. Yeah, She's That Girl. One thing that continues to annoy me is how all the packaging kind of looks the same. So that kind of side-by-side comparison was one thing. And the other thing was She's Seductive seemed to kind of harken back to one of his earlier releases, which were the Monochrome Moment blushes. And I mentioned these in my previous video, and this is the shade She's Seductive. So I thought I would do a side-by-side comparison between the original She's Seductive and this newer release. I think you can even tell on camera. I already took some swatch comparison pictures, but they're not really that similar, and the formula is different. So I think these original Monochrome Moment blushes did contain talc. I believe the new ones are talc-free, but I'll insert a picture comparing the 2 ingredient lists for your own analysis, if you will. Okay, so that's the general plan here. I did already do my complexion, and I did take the opportunity to apply one of the eyeshadow duos that I hadn't worn yet. This is Still at the Club, which I think is really beautiful. I combined that with some shades from the Viseart Neutral Mattes, and I think it's pretty stunning, to be honest. So you can do with that information as you will. I talked a lot about the pricing of those duos in my last video, so I won't repeat myself. And I also used his foundation. I set it with the Charlotte Tilbury powder, so I do have a set base. And I don't have any bronzer, contour, or anything like that, so I'm looking quite kind of washed out on camera. But I wanted to make this as helpful and objective as possible, and I also will be removing the foundation on my cheeks so that I can apply the 2 seductive shades. So speaking of, let's go into She's Seductive. So as you probably know, Patrick Ta's technique is that you apply the powder side first. So I'm using a rougher 5 brush, and that might be a tad bit too much product, so I'm just kind of tapping off on my hand and just applying that to the cheek. Seems like we have a bit of a resurgence of powder blushes recently. These Patrick Ta blushes are both powder and cream, but I saw that Urban Decay has re-released powder blushes, and the new YSL ones as well. So going into the cream, I like to just apply this with my finger. So I'll just tap a little bit and then just use my fingers to blend. This is how I would go in with just a cream blush on its own. And the idea is that applying the cream on top of the powder like this. Just gives a little bit more life back to the cheek. I probably should have done both the powders and then both the creams, but anyway. So let's move on into She Goes to the Gym, which is the cooler toned blush. I thought it was interesting that Patrick Ta also released a red shade, which I think was something kind of on trend and probably needed in his line. All right, so let's go into She Goes to the Gym. And again, I'm tapping off a little bit on my hand. I used to always use stippling brushes for blush if they were super pigmented, but isn't that interesting? I think Stephanie is her name from Babs Beauty. I think she said maybe this shade looked like a bruise on her, and I think she has a warmer skin tone than I do. She likes to wear a lot of those really lilac-y blushes. So there's the cream and there's the powder, just for like a general kind of finish comparison. So let's go in again with the cream. And you don't have to layer them like this if you don't want. You can just do one or the other. I'd say these both definitely do have a good amount of pigment. If you want a less impactful look, like on the day-to-day, you could probably just go in with the cream. It's generally a softer look. So I'll just pause there so you can kind of see the difference with them both being built up. And if you do feel like you got a little bit carried away and want to kind of blend things out, what I'll do, you can just take your beauty blender to start with and kind of go around the edges. This is the same sponge that I used to blend in the foundation, and that will take it down just a tad. So yeah, let me know which one you guys like better. So that is the warm side and that is the cool side. And I'm wearing, I guess, kind of a warm brown eyeshadow, but I wouldn't say it's too warm. So yeah, let me know. I would say I'm generally kind of neutral leaning cool, and with a neutral skin tone, you can kind of dip into either cool or warm shades, depending on what you want to do. So let's go ahead and remove this. So weird, isn't it? So I'll finish removing this and reapplying the foundation again. And then I'll be back to do the two She's Seductive shades. All right, so I have reapplied the foundation and powdered again. So let's go ahead and go into these Seductive shades. So let's go in with the older one. I will say compact-wise, I do like that the older one says blush on it versus for face. It's just a little bit more identifiable. And the thing I think I liked about these blushes is that they are a little bit more buildable, so you don't have to worry as much about how much you're applying. So I'm using the same brush and I'm just kind of cleaning it off on my Sigma Switch. It looks like there's product on it, but it's pretty much all brushed off. So let's go in with this one. So you can see it doesn't quite pick up the same as the other formula. Oops, it is more powdery. So if you really kind of dig in, and I can't say exactly when this product came into my life or when it was manufactured, but you know, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that it is an older formula that has been discontinued. So I'll tell you what the shelf life is, but I think it just, I don't know, is a little bit more user-friendly. And I think you'll see in the swatches as well, it's just a little bit softer. So this had a 12-month shelf life for what it's worth, and I'm pretty sure I've had it longer than that. Okay, so She's Seductive, the new one, and we'll be able to compare pigment levels as well. So again, knocking off any excess product on my brush, and yeah, I'm tabbing off a little bit, but you can kind of see there. So I that's a tad bit softer. Maybe it's just She Goes to the Gym is the more kind of impactful shade. I mean, they are similar. So that's the powder side by side. It's actually kind of surprising me. So if you had been interested in the older blush and you always wanted to try it, but you didn't have the opportunity to, maybe pick up this new one because it actually kind of gives a similar effect. But of course, the advantage to the new ones is that you do have that cream as well. And let me tell you the size comparison. So the powder in the new one is 4 grams, and you do get a 6-gram cream. I know they look equal in the pan, but different materials can have different weights. These old ones had a net weight of 10.5 grams. So roughly the same if you combine the cream and the powder, which is interesting. So the likelihood of ever kind of finishing a blush, and now I'm not sure which cheek I just did. Hold on. All right, so I checked the footage, and this is the new cheek, if you will. So going in and applying the cream on that one, and like so. So that is it with the cream, and that's just the powder. I mean, depending on your base and how dewy it is, and just your skin type generally, that's going to impact the overall finish. They don't look all that different though, if I'm being honest, which is surprising. So if you do have the older shade and you feel like it's still working well for you, maybe you don't need to run out to replace it. And if you had been interested in the previous shade and never got your hands on it, then hopefully this video was helpful to you. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised how similar they look on the cheek versus how they swatched. So just goes to show you that swatches aren't everything. But yeah, this was kind of a surprising video. I think I actually prefer the She Seductive shade to She Goes to the Gym. I think it's a little bit easier for my skin tone to wear. Even though I am more neutral leaning cool, I think the intensity level is a little bit easier. So I was wrong in thinking that Patrick Ta released kind of the same shade with 2 different kind of undertones to cater towards different people. I think the 2 shades are more unique and different than I initially thought, which is kind of interesting. So I'll insert swatches so you can see all of these next to each other to decide what might be the best shade for you. But anyway, I was trying to keep this video on the shorter side, so hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know down below generally if you like shorter or longer videos. That would be helpful. But yeah, that's going to do it. So I hope you guys are all doing well and staying safe, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.